Kearney is coming next month.
Okay.
Reed has not submitted an application for a building permit. Danny Valentine is here.
Okay. Come on down.
All first?
Yeah, well.
You are now.
Okay, all right.
Stuff.
Do you have my packet?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then photos.
And photos.
Photos.
In my head, I was envisioning the wrong house. I was thinking of, that you're across the street. I'm going blank on his name. Rec committee. Doesn't matter, it's the wrong house.
Okay.
What?
Danny Valentine.
No, beach access.
Oh, beach, yes.
But you're on the other side.
Yes.
Okay, tell us what you are proposing to do.
Proposing to put a dormer on the, big drawing. Putting a dormer in the attic and a smaller dormer on the back of the house. This way.
And just to confirm, Marie Early was in touch from the zoning board
Yes.
to say that you are not, you know this already, but the board, that variances are not required.
Yes, they gave me that news today, so I don't need a variance for this. The house was renovated in 2004. Went before the historic board in August of 2003 to renovate the house to what it is today. So what I'm proposing is the dormer in the attic, as well as a very small dormer in the back, which is for a bathroom. And my plan or my proposal is to match everything existing. The siding on the house is cedar clapboard siding, 6-inch with 4-inch exposed. The windows are Anderson 400 series double hung pane window glass. And the roof, existing roof is architectural shingles, which would be matched on the dormer roof. So,
Are you matching to the windows, the windows on the north facade are different?
correct.
So you're matching to what's on the
What's
main-
on the front, exactly. So there'll be 2 windows on the front dormer. There will be windows, 1 window on each side of the house. And then the window in the back.
So on the gable ends here,
Yes.
and they're one of the ones not divided, like the ones that are there now?
They are.
So the windows on the side don't have any muntins on them?
Correct, yes. So to match, I did look at my neighbor down the street who did the same thing, who has window over window.
Just solid?
Solid, but
Mhm.
in the top, he actually put the window panes, which I'm not opposed to, if that's something that.
But right now, what
That's
you
what
have
it's-
is all
that's
one
how
over
it-
one anyway, just a
Yes.
single pane, yeah.
Yep. So the only window panes are on the front of the house. The rest
So
of
the only new windows on the side elevations are the 2 right under the
Correct.
gables?
Any reason why the windows in the dormer are larger than the windows below?
According to Bill, they need to be slightly larger to meet fire code in order to be able to exit.
Other egress windows?
Yes.
That's the only thing that really stands out to me.
Yeah, I obviously I proposed this same exact size windows, but he caught it and said that had to be larger.
Could the gable end windows not, because you have to be out onto a roof, right?
Yeah.
What about does the back one open out onto a roof? Oh, but that's too
It's a
tiny.
yeah, it's a bathroom window, so it's much smaller than.
Did we not have the same issue at 20, whatever it was?
Parsonage?
Parsonage Street? Whether we were able to take them down some so that they were closer to the windows on the lower floor?
I don't think it was a width issue there, it was a.
It
It was a height issue.
Yeah, it's 4 foot high.
He was just here too.
I mean, I am a firefighter, but I'll go as small as that.
That, I mean, to me, otherwise, everything looks fine and proportionate, it's just those windows.
What's the pitch gonna be on the door?
Don't look at me. My arms aren't long enough.
Are you done 12? No.
12 on 2.5?
2.5 on 12.
What are you thinking?
Well, it just, it probably should, and this has nothing to do with, it's a pretty low pitch for shingles, and so, probably what you're gonna need to do is, put down some fairly
What
durable
seal?
substrate, you know, weather shield. As I said, it has nothing to do with what we're reviewing.
Get the photograph again.
What does the code require for width?
Hmm?
What does the code require for width? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head, but I know that there is a minimum width as far as an egress window.
One call.
Good. Yeah, he wants to be it. Sure.
Well, I guess this window here on the side,
Which one?
The-
North or
The
south?
other house is number 14 Garden Street, so it's 2 houses, the third house now from
I mean, my question would be, do we have to have, does every window have to be an egress window, or can the side window be an egress window?
Well, but
Is
you
this-
don't exit onto a roof there. You have to exit onto a roof for an
Yeah.
egress window, right?
Yes.
You can't jump out of a third floor window without a fire
No,
escape.
but, I mean, you know, you can't put a ladder there.
I don't know what the code requires though. If the code requires a permanent. Do you know?
Probably some kind of
Fire
fire
code?
escape, but it, coming out
Danny
that
would know
window,
better than I
it would be on,
Huh?
I said Danny would know better than I.
it would be on my neighbor's property, because I'm on the property line on that side of the house. On the other side of the house, it's only a 4-foot wide alleyway, so
Right.
that may limit. I have to sprinkler the house because of
Because
the
the third floor,
third
right?
floor, I don't have another way out, so.
That's gonna cost more than anything else probably, yes. It really is striking, the difference from second to third. I mean, it's certainly not enough for me to vote no on the project, but it does, the difference is striking. And it sort of makes that whole dormer look very heavy compared to the sort of sweetness of the rest of the structure.
I'm also concerned about the context, because both the houses on either side are so much smaller. This makes it look even larger.
Where's the photo of the one that's down the block?
This one's got basically a dormer on
Yeah,
the
it's Gretchen on one, but that little red house to the north, to the south, has a number of additions on it.
Yeah, but no.
This one.
by
Well, it's
no
much
means
lower, you're right.
Yeah, it's much lower. And it's not a 4-bay wide house, or is it?
Mm.
Yeah, it is 4-bay, yeah.
Well, it's up, is it height?
Because with the dormer, it makes the building look so much taller.
It doesn't appear to come above the roof, or it meets at the peak, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not actually that it's going higher, it's just that the bulk is making it
Yeah,
look
it's
larger.
the bulk, exactly. That's the issue.
Do you see a way, Carolyn, to reduce the bulk?
No.
Where's the photo of the one with the
That's the
dormer?
one.
It's set, it's set back.
It's set back. It's also a smaller
At least
dormer.
4 feet from the front wall of the house.
It's also already taller than your. And it's a more wee dormer too.
Yeah, but the scale of it on the roof is probably gonna be about the same.
That's what I'm thinking, looking at how much is
Being filled, yeah.
to the sides.
Scale wise, it's probably gonna look about the same.
I see that concern in the row, but that concern is mitigated for me by by other properties on the block that are higher. It's just that these are so close to each other.
Are there
But
other
it may be
properties
more
on the block that are
dramatic.
higher?
This one,
It's higher?
I think that, it seems to me that it is, maybe it's not. It seems to me that it is. When you walk down the street, it's all, and also think about the ones at the end of the block where Susan Early lives, right? That's Garden Street.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so those houses and the another
The
Irish name.
next two are
Jeff
set up, are actually higher on the property.
Keegan's,
Mhm.
they have a full sort of walk-in basement and then,
Two
and then the
space
porch
levels.
level and then, so those houses at the end of the block seem higher too. They are set back a little further, but they do have that higher lower floor, taller lower floor.
On the side.
I don't see how you could add a dormer without increasing the sense of bulk.
That and also you're gonna have a little recess in front, right?
Yes.
Where's the recess? No, that's a framing
Bill
plan. That's
says
in
you
the,
need a
that's framing,
I
that's not,
know.
5.7 square foot opening.
there's no
And
recess
He told me
here.
3
Yeah,
foot by 4
this
foot.
is, I was wondering what
size
the hell
window.
that.
What was it, a 5 by what?
5.7 square foot,
I see that on the larger scale plan because I can't read it on this.
which I think is when you open the window, so.
Right.
You only get to open half the window, so.
See, that's this one.
The International Building Code is the 5.7
5.7.
square feet, and it's literally 20 inches wide.
So.
But to go higher than, to go narrower, you'd have to go higher on these, how wide are these windows?
First floor is about 22 inches wide. 20, where's that? It's about 26 inches wide.
The proposed new windows are 26?
No, the first and second floor. The window he told me to get was 3, 1, it was 3 foot wide by 4 foot high. That's what the window he told me to put in.
Do we think these are 30 inches? No, you just said 3 feet wide,
Yeah, by 4 foot.
36 inches.
If you made the slope of the dormer a little steeper,
Yeah, you can't, I don't think, because
Why?
then there's no pitch, and you'd have to raise the roof line,
I don't understand what you're saying.
and the pitch for the dormer,
Yeah. If-
was told can't go any higher of a, or less of a pitch because of water wouldn't.
No, not less of a pitch, more of a pitch.
Oh, steeper.
Yeah.
Then it has the minimum height requirement upstairs. So setting the dormer back far enough
To get
so
that
that
height.
it's not like obtrusive and to still get the height, that's where it's based. Plus the window well, that's in front of the window so you can step out onto for fire egress.
I would just say if we can get a smaller window, I mean.
I was thinking if you could increase that pitch, make it a little steeper, it might take away some of the ceiling height in the inside, but how much would it take off?
Well, if-
And you could, then, what I'm thinking is
Starting
to
with-
minimize the appearance of that window, could you have, instead of 2 windows spaced out, have them centered in the space and 2 windows gained? This would come down lower, and these guys would come in, so they would be in here.
So the whole roof would be lower,
Not the whole roof,
Just
the
the-
front edge of the roof would be lower. And right now you have 7'3", if I'm reading this correctly. So, I mean, we could bring that down maybe, I don't know,
Gotta have what, 7'2"?
yeah, for head space,
Yeah.
but the windows, I think if we make the windows any less tall, they've gotta be more wide to get that square footage opening to get out of the window.
That and also, if you go with a casement window, because right now the limiting factor of a double hung is the fact that
that's double hung.
it's double hung.
Okay.
So how would a casement window?
Because
Oh,
a
this way,
casement
not
window,
awning. This is
yeah,
awning.
because it opens and you get the full.
I was thinking awning. I got it.
That and also, the fact that, the whole area in front of the dormer is a well, I think that's gonna be very noticeable. I mean, it essentially looks, that area, for example, just look at the drawing. I mean, this area actually looks bigger than this area or this area.
It's, the way it's described to me is not a flat well, because if it's a flat well, you have to
Then
have
it
a
won't
railing.
drain water.
And you have to have a railing.
Good lord.
It's because
A
it's a
railing.
balcony under fire code, so it's a pitched window well as they explain it.
But this window is actually not only wider, but also taller than the windows on the first and second floors.
Yes.
So you would end up with something more like this. These are casements. Is that what you mean?
We could probably get a smaller window, all right, for the casement, because it'd be the full window instead of just half of it.
Right.
The,
So if you didn't have the full 7'2" or whatever it is, okay, and you had something
It's like a
slightly less,
scale.
I know,
and you had something slightly less at that front edge, the room doesn't work then?
well, I'm not an architect, so I just know from what they told me that you have to have a minimum ceiling height to occupy, and then anytime you alter the roof level, it's gonna push the size of the room much smaller, based on a simple degree or
Yeah, it
of
makes,
variance.
it would make the room slightly smaller, but the room would still be utilizable, I mean, in terms of the livable space.
Well, I don't know if it would be slightly smaller, I think it would be a lot more because of the angle. Has to come back a lot further now to reach that 7-foot,
Well, this says 7'1", but it looks like that's 7'1" to the stud, so, what they're looking for, or what you're gonna finally get is 7 foot as far as, you know, the headroom, a little over 7 foot.
It seems like a casement.
Well, if you pushed,
Casement would solve it.
if you pushed this wall back, okay,
You
the
don't move
rear
anything.
wall
Yeah.
of the dormer, of the third level back, okay, you'd still have that, you know, you'd have a portion of the room that would have a lower ceiling, but the, overall, you'd have your 7 feet, you know, within there. I mean, not every single square inch has to be 7 foot, whatever. Does it?
Right, right,
It seems like a casement might
Am I
be,
right?
all right.
Yeah, okay.
might be a viable option, because then you don't lose the interior height. You
You get smaller
you
windows.
get a smaller window, you potentially get a smaller window that still meets egress requirements. And it already is going to, I mean, the dormer already is going to look like a modification, so that the windows don't match exactly isn't,
Yes, I know, but I don't think it would look quite as large as this. If you brought that front width down lower, okay, by increasing the, slope on that roof, and then had dormers here, and then had casements here, I think you could achieve it all. And if you had to move back,
so you're saying do both,
yeah,
unless it,
What are you
unless
gonna
it.
really gain, a couple inches tops? I mean,
probably gain about 4 inches off of here, making that look less bulky. And then if you had and then if you had a smaller window that was a casement, that would still give you the, fire egress stuff. Cause those the third floor windows are taller as well as wider.
the dormer's the same height as the second floor, above
Well,
the porch.
what is the size of the window that you're?
This is 3 foot by 4 foot. These are like 42 inches high, so it would be a 6-inch higher window. And Bill said, I'm trying to pull up the file, casement window is acceptable as long as it meets the, if it's 5.7 square
The opening.
feet, then
Yeah.
a casement
But
window
it'll be a
could be,
full opening
could be
instead of just
smaller,
half the window.
but it has to be a designated,
Yeah.
specific emergency window, which should be opening here in a second.
That would be my inclination as well, because I think it would go a long way to making the dormer look smaller with the windows smaller.
I'm fine with just changing the windows.
I'd like to see the roof slope change too. Have to push this back a little.
And is Bill requiring that the entire area be a window well? I mean, it can be just in front of the window? Because essentially what we're dealing with here is that, you know, you have this roof, which is solid right now, and we're adding this dormer. And if the window well is just at the windows, then I think it'll soften that, maybe with what,
Well, you don't see the window well from the street.
Yeah,
Well, you
I
will.
don't think it's a true window well. It's
well,
just
it's right over here.
as
I
it's
mean.
explained for.
I mean, it's a, you know, a pitched area, and I guess the question I would have is, there's a phrase, it's called attractive nuisance. I mean, it looks like an area that, I mean, if you had kids up there, they would just love to climb out onto. Not dealing with aesthetics here, sorry, moving on. I think that reducing the size of that, because I think you will see it as you're you know, at a distance, maybe you won't see if you're standing right here, but if you're further
across the
away, I
street.
think you will see that essentially, that entire area has been cut away. If you look at the photographs, some of these other dormers, I mean, they don't have, like this one doesn't have any window well, and
Neither
I
does the
think
little red house next door.
it's a little bit less obtrusive.
So what you're saying, just put it in front of the window and that's it?
Yeah,
Just make a
I
little
mean,
space in between.
it's an emergency egress window, so, you have a place that you can climb out onto. I'm not sure that having it all the way across the dormer is gonna be any more helpful.
Well, I don't know that that's a question we can answer. The building inspector would need to answer that.
I mean, there's casement windows that are 20-inch, looks like 20-inch wide by 43-inch high, which is more or less the size of the
The lower
first and
downstairs
second floor
windows.
windows are just casement.
How do you feel about casement upstairs?
I mean, if that's my only option, thinking about fresh air, I'd rather just slide the window open than rolling
Rolling out.
it out, but, if that's what needs to be done. It's gonna look like the rest of the windows in the front as far as,
Having them untense?
appearance. So,
I actually think that casement windows would be more suiting on a dormer anyway.
You can put buttons in 'em.
Sure, well,
Mhm.
that, we'd approve one like that on Fair Street.
I'd rather have smaller windows. to tell you the truth. More light's nice, but obviously I want it to look nice.
Did Bill ever say, how much area you need? In other words, what's the area that we're looking for, that, for the window to
Egress.
work?
5.7 square feet.
5.7.
I'm just looking at the Anderson window chart, and it's like one of the smallest windows has a
2x3.
36-inch high by 22 wide.
Well, I think that, but the windows down here are 30 inches, right? 2 to 6 across.
26 wide.
They're 26 wide by 42
42.
high. So,
So we'll
the
progress
width
on
is,
it, getting
Yeah, so I
smaller
think,
as you
I
go
think,
up.
I think if you stay with the 26-inch wide, and if a casement window, and you're gonna lose a little bit, but,
so if we just match the size of the windows on the rest of the house.
well, or actually make it a little bit smaller, and then what we can do is what Carolyn was suggesting, maybe take this down to a 3/12, which would be better as far as, a shingle.
And if you need the space, rather than have this wall end here, you can match it up with the wall at the back side of the closet.
Well, right now, where's that wall located? Is that at the center line?
No.
This is the center line.
Okay. I'll take a look at the section here. Your 7'1" actually comes over to here.
Okay.
So, what Carolyn was suggesting is that maybe the back wall moves to here. And that gives you more area. You'll have a little bit of area that's,
But do I now lose that room in the bathroom? Now I don't have the height.
No, it wouldn't affect the bathroom at all.
Because the
I'm talking about only this wall here.
right. Well, yeah. So you want to move this wall back?
you know.
No, we don't, we're off, because you don't see that from the street, so, you know, as far as.
No, but I'm
we're-
I'm
but
talking
it,
about his need for that height.
Right,
Like,
because this is the center line right here.
yep, and that's the basically the minimum.
Right. No, actually, minimum headroom, code requirement 6'8". And, in attic spaces, what's occupiable, occupiable is anything, which has a headroom of 5 foot.
But if it's a bedroom, it needs to have the
Well,
higher-
there's a certain minimum area that is required to be, legal headroom, but I mean, what is occupiable, for example, over here, you're not gonna have, 7 foot. And even here, this is gonna drop down, because the 7 foot, your 7 foot headroom pretty much, follows this collar tie.
Right.
And so, again, 6'8" is what your minimum headroom is, and that's probably what you have here.
Okay. If I
And-
drop the
Well,
pitch of the roof more, then obviously the 6'8" is gonna be way back here.
Well, I mean, you know, I think that what we're trying to do is minimize the impact of the dormer
I understand.
on the front facade.
Okay.
And so I think that by bringing this down a little bit, you know, it lessens the impact. If you get rid of this window well going all the way across, that's gonna also have less of an impact. And you change the configuration of the windows, then I think that, you know, at least it'll be a little bit less dominant. Because right now, it's gonna be a big thing that which is attached to your roof.
I'll go for the window wells in the window. I don't know, I just do all that for a couple inches. I don't see how it's gonna make that big of a difference.
I think visually it'll make a substantial difference. Because right now, this looks like a very large mass compared to what's.
Does the where it meets on the peak does not shift, right? It's just about pitch.
That's
What you're
right.
adjusting is just
Yeah,
about
that's
pitch.
right.
Dropping it front down.
And can you give me, I'm not, give me with your, a sense of direction shift, I mean of degree shift.
Let me see, 2 on 12, and right now,
It's now 2.5 on 12.
1.5 half-inch scale. We're talking about roughly 6 feet. Is that about right? From the center line to.
But how much
to
are
the
you
wall.
dropping the roof? I mean, how far
The
down
pitch.
is it actually gonna go down?
Well,
How
if you
many-
went from 2.5 to 3 over 12, how much would that drop it down?
So I'm saying, you're losing one plank. I don't see how that's gonna really,
I think it makes it, I think,
Well,
I think
if
it makes
the
a
win-
visual. I
Right,
think it
right
makes it-
now, the windows are 4 foot.
yeah.
So if the size of the window gets smaller, then what do? Just have boards above, clapboard above the window? Because ultimately, you're locked in by this 1'9", and that's your height that you need in order to get out, right?
Mhm.
So the bottom has to stay where it is. So if you're reducing the size of the window, then the head's gonna come down.
Okay, I gotcha. So we'd have more.
So you'd have space at the top.
Right.
So it's, the height is gonna, so in that case, they're going to look like, they would look like ill-placed windows.
No, they'd look like the same size windows that he has below.
No, but I'm saying if you weren't adjusting the pitch, a smaller casement window is going
it'd
to
be
look
like
like
two
it got
planks
put
on
in the
top
wrong
of it.
place, like it got set in too low.
Right. Because you'd have some siding
I gotcha.
across the top.
Without changing the pitch.
No, yeah, without changing the pitch.
But if you change the
Well,
pitch,
the
that would
first
be
thing we should do
mitigated.
is see if Phil will approve the windows.
Mhm.
Because if he doesn't approve the windows, we're right back to square one and they're going like it is. So I mean, that's really what we gotta find
Mhm.
out.
this is, from my math, 5 feet from the porch roof to the roof line, and this is 5 feet from the roof line to the roof line, so they're the same height. So it's not, I mean, you're saying it's much bulkier, but it's more or less the same size.
Well, like I said, if Bill does it,
exposure.
if they're the windows Bill wants in, and we gotta leave it the way it is anyway, so. He's the one who's really gonna
I think there's
determine.
wiggle room on the configuration of the windows. I'm not convinced of the argument that the pitch needs to be adjusted. I think, although I can see, right, because you're not gonna end up with dormer, you're not gonna end up with casements like this that are sitting up off the
Well, what's the next size window?
the roof. It's gonna be all the way down to accommodate the step out.
But what is the next size window? Can we go up a little bit in the window size?
Of the casements, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to.
So it sounds like,
Research
sounds like, are we gonna get to a resolution tonight, or does Dan need to
Yeah.
go and do a little research on the casements and,
I think he
Talk to
needs to,
Bill.
I think he needs to talk to Bill.
okay?
I know, because I've been to Bill about 9 times for the original plans. This is not built to mass to get the most amount of room. It
Mhm.
was to meet whatever the kind of minimum to keep the price from being, through the roof. And this is what the,
Yeah, to meet code and requirements
Yeah,
and, yes.
so, I'm not trying to make it bigger than
No,
it
of
should be
course.
by any means, but, and I don't have the answers as far as how much square footage you need, livable space in a bedroom, or, what the pitch is, but that is, I know that's probably the highest pitch you can have,
To get the maximum.
otherwise you're not gonna,
Right.
your
And well,
bedrooms-
anything flatter than that, you're gonna have problems as far as the roof leaking.
So even if the pitch isn't changing on the roof, we still need answers on the window question.
Well, ultimately, that, to me, that's the biggest problem more than anything else is the size of the window, because it just, it's so overbearing.
It becomes
whatever.
dominant, yeah.
It becomes a dominant visual element. You've got this very nice looking house, which all of a sudden has got these 2 big windows up above.
I mean, typically when, in the hierarchy of going up,
Smaller.
And
yeah,
smaller
you
should go higher.
typically go smaller. Like the other house on the block with the dormer.
Well, and that helps upper stories to look smaller
Right.
when the windows go smaller. Yeah, I mean, I don't feel strongly one way or the other about the pitch. But for me, it is about reducing the window size and having them rest on the dormer in a way that makes sense visually.
So if there's a casement window that meets the fire code that is the same size as the rest of the windows in the front of the
Or
house.
closer in size.
Or closer in size, would be something
It's
acceptable.
local or national?
It's local, local. And, I mean, do you feel, I think we're sort of divided here. The problem is we're missing one member tonight. We're sort of divided on the question of pitch.
Well, I mean, I think that if you go to a smaller window,
Well,
And
can we
then-
get a window that height, just narrower?
yeah.
Oh, no, this is a taller and wider window,
Yeah.
so we'd want to go to a lower.
The same height,
yeah,
same size.
Same size.
I think that lowering the pitch will,
I see what you're saying, it's gonna
I
cover
don't
the
think it's all
front.
that critical. It's just that I would hate to sort of see, any clapboard above the window. And so, I think that, but it's not that critical to me. I mean, I think that I'd be willing, to keep the pitch if the windows got smaller, but I think that all in all, that would help reduce the overall size of the dormer.
Yeah, because
I
it's
would
pretty
agree.
bulky looking right now. It kind of looks like a heavy mass up there.
Okay? We're meeting again in a workshop session next week. There are already a couple of other things on the agenda, but if you didn't wanna wait a whole month to come back and talk about what you found, we'll be here on Wednesday night.
So, smaller window, 2 small ones, and, the pitch.
Well, yeah, I think that you're gonna wind up with, even with the casement, you probably couldn't get any smaller than 2'6", because for some reason, I think, the number, I mean, 2 foot is
2
what
foot,
is,
2 foot 6 is 30 inches.
right.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
kind of a
I-
standard width.
So I think that you're probably gonna be stuck with that, but that's probably what you're gonna, what
Which
you'd
is
be
what the
shooting
ones
for
that-
with the
which is what
casement.
these are, the second floor are.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but I think that if we can bring the height of it down, then, you know, and then, you know, you can look at lowering the pitch, it'll help out as far as, you know, the roofing on the dormer, and see if that still works for you. If not,
I like to just see smaller windows in the window wells, I think would break it up,
Yeah.
and the pitch.
Having the
I have
window
no
well
problem.
just be under the windows
Yeah,
rather than all the
I
way
have no
across.
problem with the pitch, so.
So that's a bill question, the window wells is a bill question.
If they can just be under the windows. I think that would break it up too, so. But the pitch,
You know, just what kind of nightmare is it, flashing wise and everything, just having the window well under the 2 windows, does it make any kind of?
I don't think your flashing issues are gonna go away, are gonna be any different than they are right here.
Just having 2 wells? Then
Well,
you've got every-
what's gonna happen is that with the 2 wells, you're gonna reduce the area where you may have problems.
Where water's going to collect.
Because it's only gonna, you know, there are only gonna be 2 areas as opposed to the whole stretch.
Right, because it's not flat.
Right.
It's 2 on 12 pitch.
Right. See, and
So where does that drain?
Well, it just drains
Oh,
onto the
drains
roof.
onto the
regular
roof?
Yeah, and the thing is that with 2 on 12, that's not gonna be shingle, right? What's the membrane that's gonna be here?
I'm not sure what he proposed
2
for
layers
that.
ice barrier up all
Yeah.
up all sides.
Sides, CDX plywood with 2x8 RFT at 16.
Brown aluminum flashing.
So, you know, it's gonna be a black membrane. And actually, you need to check, I was under the impression the ice barrier is susceptible to ultraviolet degradation. So usually that's covered, but,
Well, it's
again,
covered with
Oh,
brown
aluminum.
aluminum flashing, and
So this is all gonna be
counterpart
flashed
shingle.
on,
that's what it says. Yep.
with brown aluminum flashing. And step flashing. Okay. If that's the case, I'd probably want it more, because it's gonna look metallic, and so it's gonna look different from your shingles.
I don't know why they would put that there, because if you step on that, you're gonna go whoosh.
Well, that's true for an egress window, it's slippery. That's not our deal.
Yep, again,
So
Yeah.
what else do we need to talk about, because it's 8:45?
Well, I think that we'd be willing to work with you to, you know, because we do have workshops coming up. We can advertise and change it to a regular meeting, so at least we can vote on it.
It's already been advertised, so.
Huh?
It's already been advertised.
Okay. Well, it's been advertised as a workshop. So.
So, window
So
wells?
we know what the sheathing is going to be. It's going to be cedar clapboard,
Mhm.
and the trim is going to match what you have on the lower floors?
Yeah, wood trim.
Okay. And are there any gutters and leaders involved here?
No, no. I have a copper one on the porch roof, but
That's their own.
That's existing.
No.
Well, you actually have a gutter up here.
on
Yeah,
the top
that's
there.
right.
Yeah.
All right, so let us know which, which you're ready to meet again, and,
Well, what we can do is just we can add you to the agenda now so that it's on the village website,
Okay.
so that it's advertised, so for next Wednesday's
okay.
workshop.
Okay.
So the woman who was here, I think, was the next person. She had called
Is that the woman with the
Zaslansky.
fence?
I think that was the sign, the person who was coming in for the sign. So let's see if she's coming back. So
Is
Peehl
there
is not
anybody
here.
sitting out there?
Should leave my phone here. My life is.
Let's see what kind of window they have, is that they're also dealing with that.
This one is talking to her. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So that's Peehl Hall.
Okay.
Zaslansky is this Cape Cod leather. So Bill came down earlier, before the meeting started. He didn't, because he was sick, and the office was closed yesterday, so he didn't get your actual referral done, but he gave a temporary referral till he can process it. And he wanted to point out that the consideration of signs should include this one, but also what is on the door, and together they are larger than 4 square feet.
Okay, which is an issue for him, not us.
Well, our guidelines, doesn't matter, we're reviewing the signs anyway. So it's the same, is that the same board that was there when it was the apothecary? The big board?
Actually, it's smaller,
It's a smaller board?
yes. It's 10 inches high by 8 feet.
And what's the material?
The backing is wood with a PVC coating, just for weather protection, with wood lettering, and the letters are 9 inches high.
I'm sorry, could you say what you said about the lettering again?
They're 9 inches high, and they're wood.
And then the sign on the door is an applied, a vinyl
Right,
applied.
yeah, makes it.
It's very similar to the sign that was there before, different font.
Basic.
Do you have any concerns?
Well, it just says PVC, but in fact, what you're saying is wood, PVC coated wood.
Right.
Okay, do I have a motion on the application?
As submitted, so moved.
Second.
Okay, Peter,
Aye.
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 done?
That was easy.
Good thing you weren't doing a dormer, right?
Yes, that's true. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
All
Have
done?
a good evening.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Here's the third one.
seconded.
Peehl Hall.
Sign on the storefront, so we get that, and we also have, as amended, because I had put in PVC coated wood, and then the vinyl, vinyl.
So Linda, I'm sorry, my mistake. The motion was as submitted, but is an amended application, so to accept the application as amended.
And what was amended on it?
That the
PVC
wood is
coated.
PVC coated on the sign, it's not, she submitted wood, it's PVC coated wood,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
and it also
The
includes the
vinyl
vinyl
adhered
adhered sign on the
on
window,
door.
on the door.
The vinyl what?
Adhered
Adhered.
sticker, basically.
Okay. Next,
Peehl Hall, and they are not here.
and they are not here.
So I'll go get Butterfield for ready.
Do you close the meeting, it's gonna be a workshop,
Oh, it's a
right?
workshop. So just to move to close the
Move to
regular
close the
session.
Regular session, go to workshop?
Second?
Well, wait, no.
Oh, do you wanna do minutes first?
Well, let's do minutes. Also, I have a letter.
Well, last time we closed the
And then
workshop and
reopened.
opened to do business, so the applicant didn't have to wait.
Right, there's the applicant.
He's the other in the other room.
All right, well, then let's just do the letter to Marie, really,
Oh, okay.
Okay. For.
Kearney.
The 20.
Has everybody read it?
For Paulding.
No?
Yes.
You will now.
Sure you fixed the work.
Did we ever hear anything from Mike?
Yes, came in right before the meeting started.
Thank you. Listen, from what I found out, there's 2 fires.
That's
Two
what,
fires.
that's
There's
what
two
your
fires.
Yeah, your
uncle
uncle
said.
told me.
Yeah, he talked to Johnny Robbins and he lives across the street from him.
Do I have a motion that we send this letter to the zoning board of appeals?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Done. Okay, do I have a motion to suspend the meeting for the workshop?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Who seconded that one?
I did.
Oh, then who moved? That, I have
I
these.
did.
Oh.
Now serving number 4.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
How are you?
Have a
Doodle
seat.
here?
Yes. Sit down, let's talk.
Are you that easy?
I think we're okay unless, unless we need to get to the big ones, or we could put them right here.
we were last here. All right, so why don't you tell us what you've done and you're thinking now.
If I kind of heard correctly, you know, I think one of the main themes was that, you know, let's not take all these buildings and tie them together. We really have kind of a commercial area. You know, we've got a single-family area, we've got a multifamily area. Maybe they should all look distinct. And then relative to the commercial, it was, you know, look, let's not make it look like a cutesy little house that got turned into a commercial building. Let's make it look like a commercial building. You know, the word contemporary came up because of the Leahy Pavilion, but, you know, I don't think the notion of contemporary was really meant, but it was just like, well, let's make it look, it is a commercial building, so let's make it look commercial.
And of its time.
Yeah. And that's where, you know, these sketches begin to develop.
All right, so
We're gonna leave
shall
this
we
one
start with
first?
that?
Yeah.
Here's a small version of it too, if you don't want to unfold. the whole
Smaller, I
thing.
could put the flat one.
No, I know.
Okay. So how many options did you have for that, Ray?
I think there are four. I mean, I think that, you know, the first option, I mean, I think they're really multiple of the same option. You know, we actually tried to draw,
But those are
These are the houses.
Those are the houses, right.
you know, Leahy Pavilion's got a flat roof, and could we do something to tie directly into that? I suppose we could, but I'm not sure that's the right solution.
Well, it wasn't necessarily tying into Leahy so much as it was tying into the other commercial buildings in that area.
Also all that flat.
Which also all have flat roofs,
Yes,
yes,
all
but
have flat roofs.
less people
But
get
there
the
is an
impression that we're
option
asking
here with
for
flat roof.
the recreation of Leahy, which is what we're, not what we're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have that one.
No, it's not in the small, it's in the big version.
Oh, all right, well, then I'm in a commercial. so
Yeah, you
I
know,
think
something,
on
the
big
thing
set.
on the easel makes more sense, rather than.
And so what we did is say, okay, let's, you know, it's a commercial building, you know, it's gonna be brick. Let's let the windows look more commercial, you know, no shutters, you know, and you know, if there's office space upstairs, the downstairs is retail. Let's open that up with glass.
Are you gonna have a problem as far as this being considered a third floor?
If into the flat story
Yeah.
scheme? You know, that's a good question. I mean, it's defined as, you know, a certain percentage of the floor
Right.
below.
I mean, 50%.
Yes.
I mean, the back is, right,
It's into the
the
slope.
grade, the back grade is up in this area somewhere.
Yeah, no, but I think the question is, if we try to keep it flat roof, our intention was to essentially build 50% of the floor below.
Yeah. Because with this, essentially, you're losing floor area because the roof is pitched. But if you go to this version where the roof is flat, then you don't have it. But essentially what you're then doing is reducing how much the footprint of this part, so that is half story.
Yeah.
Just in a first response, that feels much more like Cold Spring Commercial than what we looked at last time,
Mm-hmm.
to me. I think that's a great improvement from where we were last time.
Yeah, I think that,
Is it up on
I don't think, did you
Yeah,
have
it
in
should
this
be. I
set?
think they open the 1 to 5.
So, there's just yeah, right? That's, yes.
my first inclination is that, you know, maybe this is a little bit too high, but as far as the commercial, we're dealing with two buildings, right?
Yes.
One which is sort of in front of Leahy,
Mm-hmm.
and then another one which is up, further up, you know, on the side, which I think had always been sort of a municipal building or whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
But that was the other commercial building. And I'm not even sure, you know, and I think this probably relates to Leahy more than anything else. I guess I was concerned a little bit as far as the height goes, but this is gonna be lower, right? I mean, Leahy's up.
Where's the site plan?
Well, Leahy's a good story, slightly more than a story up.
Because Leahy's only one story.
Leahy's one, yeah.
But it's up much higher.
Yeah, there's a. I mean, that shows the slope,
Right.
you know, but it's really,
No, it is a good story and a
Yeah,
half higher.
yeah.
I mean, the lay of
Up from
land.
the road, yeah. and it's pretty steep right up against it. So, and it's gonna be, it'll be behind that. So certainly still gonna see the Leahy, but
Right.
both those buildings, will end up being probably slightly higher, but it's not like it's gonna be 2 stories, high. It's probably gonna be,
Well-
it'd be like a half story higher.
The test for this too will be seeing it in context. We're seeing it here without any landscape around it, with the slope not there. We're not seeing it in relation to the other buildings, so.
This seems to be a much longer building though than building number 2 there. Is that correct?
No, they're both the same. I think it just happens to be a different scale. Both buildings are the same size. Both buildings, I believe, are approximately 100 feet long. I think one was originally longer and made to be shorter, so they're both the same size. I think it might just be the print is larger.
In fact, there was one thing I wanted to point out on your option number 4, where you have this little sort of tower feature.
Yeah.
Now, this Oculus, is that a window or a plaque or a clock?
Or a clock, I wasn't, what I was, the reason I introduced that one was because, everything else is pretty asymmetrical, and I thought, well, what if we just, side load one of them, it doesn't have to be perfectly asymmetrical.
The only reason, it kind of gives sort of a civic presence to it.
Mhm.
Whether it's on this building, your Leahy, or the municipal building, having that as kind of a signature thing that you see when you're driving into the village.
I think it'd be good on the,
I think it,
on the court building or whatever.
As a nice
No,
touch.
but this was for, were you saying you like it or you don't?
I like the idea of
Having
that
something.
feature, that circular window, Oculus, whatever it might be.
So when I was looking at these, I read them as if they were 4 options for the same structure, correct?
But let's not get hung up on that. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I just
I
wanna make
think
sure I understand what I'm
yeah.
looking at.
Well, I think these are options for these 2 buildings.
Right.
Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that both of them have to be
the same,
identical.
Right.
I mean, for example, the one that, with the Oculus, and, again, sort of planning a municipal building, maybe that's this one. Whereas this one, which is more Leahy-like, is the option number 3.
Yeah, building 2 is, from the latest conversations with the county, they prefer to be in this location as far as municipal.
So then what about the plaza? Wasn't the plaza intended to have the
The plaza would be down in here.
retail? Oh, so they would be
Yeah.
up on an upper floor. I don't know, I feel differently about that. I feel like the other options, while quite nice, they stay in the same place we were last time, wherein they look like suburban commercial buildings trying to look
I'm not
residential.
talking about the design as a whole, I'm talking
No,
about
no,
that
I'm responding to
particular
Al's,
feature.
Yeah.
I'm responding to Al's comment, was that maybe one could be an option for one building and one for the other. My inclination would be that this, to me, feels, it feels commercial, B, it feels more familiar in the neighborhood, C, there's something about it that's reminiscent of the 41 wing, with that strong banding on the top, the hospital, the old
Mhm.
hospital.
Yes, yes.
Oh, the 41 wing.
Right, it's got the strong banding on the first floor as well, it's got that flat roof.
Reminds me of Ethan's building, they redid it just from the Pizza Palace.
Oh,
I mean, that's what that actually kinda like.
the window, with the window
With the
configuration, you mean, with
windows
the
and
smaller windows on
signage
the
on
top.
top.
Yeah, I mean, this feels much more Cold Spring
Yeah.
to me, and it feels commercial, and it feels,
That's a new building that was.
it also feels like it to me, it feels like it belongs on the site. Given
like the
the
flat roof
the history
window.
of the site, it feels like it belongs on the site.
And I think this is going in the right direction, it looks crisper. and less
And you can make
derivative.
it look civic by just doing some stonework or
Well, it's
something,
going to be
you know,
fine, it's a big
pillars.
brick building,
Well,
right?
take a look at the front of the library, the doors into library, where they got the portico, you know, kind of thing, and do something like that to make it look civic.
Yeah, my feeling is that, I think that, you know, definitely should be two different things.
Two different things where?
In other words, building 1 and 2 don't necessarily have to be the same.
I don't think they have to be the same, but what I'm saying is that if I were to choose of these, which one felt more, I would rather see a variation of this theme than this compared with anything else, because I think this gets is a better balance of what we were asking the architect to look at last week, which was a more commercial feel and more area specific to that part of the village.
Well, the other thing to remember is that, this building really, its context is the Leahy Pavilion. I mean, it's sort of, that's what's driving it. This one is now set in front of these, which are residential. And so, I wouldn't have a problem with having a pitched roof here.
I don't have a problem with having a pitched roof there. What concerns me greatly is that we not end up with a suburban plaza-like building, which looks as if it's co-opting residential characteristics to look old-fashioned. I would much rather have it look like a commercial building of its time. And I don't mind, because of the slope issues on the site and the way those three Leahy, the institutional building, and the other two commercial buildings sort of nestled together down slope. To me, it makes sense that the three of them relate to each other
Right.
in a way that's different than the residential buildings relate.
So what's the upper building gonna be now, if the civic building's gonna be on the lower one? Or you don't know?
This
That
building
one,
here,
yeah.
this will be office retail.
Okay, so if.
And the retail, you know, is only allowed on the ground level.
Yeah.
In both of them.
So if building number 2, if you also, get the post office as a tenant on the site, building number 2 would be where the post office would go, which would only be a retail operation. Or maybe, I don't know.
There's no loading dock area.
No, there's
They
gonna
don't
be a
need any of that
retail.
Oh, that's
stuff.
right, it's only
Yeah.
gonna be retail.
So I would think they could go at either location, but I agree with you. If I was the post office, the preference would be.
Are we
Well,
still
like-
gonna try to get that moved back off the railroad?
We need to talk about that.
We did-
Because
we-
that's the other thing that stands out to me as being problematic about this site plan, this configuration, is that the rest of the setbacks in this area, and for the commercial structures and even for the historic structures across the street, the setbacks are deep. To me, it feels very out of character with this part of the village to have these buildings
Sit right in the
sit
road.
right on the road. And, you know, we talked a bit last week about how much how much before limits you. But it seems as if we do have some, because our
Well, we're gonna talk about it on the
Yeah,
bottom.
I think that the issues that we're dealing with as far as the site plan, we need to get information from the village attorney to see how much we can work with the site plan, because, so what,
well,
That's
site is
exactly-
very
you
much-
understand what our concerns are.
That's what we brought it up at the last planning board meeting, and they basically said, look, it's something that you would have to discuss with Anna,
Right.
the village attorney, because
the
their
planning
position-
board's attorney.
yeah, they arrived at this plan, you know, because of parking in the back and a bunch of other issues, and zero setbacks, and they wanted this to look more, for a variety of reasons, and they've told us to finalize our engineering submission.
Mhm.
You know, they're not looking back as far as the layout now, they're,
Well, I think that the only two that we're really concerned about are buildings
Well,
1
but
and 2.
inevitably, if you shift this back, it's gonna impact
No, because, realistically, what
You're
we're
just
talking
taking
about
parking
is
from
you
the
take the
back.
parking and move it out front,
So flip reversing.
yeah.
And then this-
Well, the other
this
thing-
building, we want to turn though a little.
The other thing we talked about was orienting
Yeah.
this to the street.
Right. Or at least having it line up with the parking or something like that.
Well, and we do talk about, it's very clear, visual compatibility with surrounding properties, including proportion of the property's front facade, proportion arrangement of windows, other openings within the facade.
Well, I think more
Here,
importantly,
the
it talks
sca-
about any alteration and new construction, including the placement of new construction.
That's right.
In the village code in section 64, chapter 64, which is the historic district chapter.
And,
And the B4A, the amendment to section 134.4 talks about the amount of movement a building can have on the site, both in feet and in rotation, degrees. And going back to another section of B4A, in 134.15A, it talks about the planning board having considerable latitude in that regard if the buildings have to be moved for aesthetic consideration. So I think that it's something that we really have to resolve before you finalize in the engineering drawings.
Yes, we brought it up last week.
Yeah, but you brought it up to the planning board.
Yeah,
And they look at things, from a different end of the spectrum than we do.
All right. Now, so the question is that should we bring this up to the planning board?
you have asked a question of the village attorney, he has responded, we have not as a board had an opportunity to discuss his response, and I think we
Okay.
need to do that, I can't read his response.
But okay, so let's take a look at what he responded, and, because I think that, as far as the applicant goes, the things that we're proposing, do you guys have any problem with that, if that was what the village wanted?
I can't answer. I have to talk to Paul.
Okay.
about it.
Can you talk to Paul and at least, be ready, because if, we need to discuss this as far as the village goes, and address these two buildings, which I think are the biggest
Mhm.
issues that we're trying to get adjusted. And if we are ready to do that, if you guys have any problem with that, so.
Okay. I would say to the extent that he has 90% design documents done, there's
How can you have 90% design documents done when we're just
Site
seeing
plan.
concept,
site plan related.
site plan related? Well, the placement on, our section of the ordinance is clear that the question of placement is also something that is within our purview in terms of context and character. And that's been clear all along, and that's also a comment that we made at the EAF stage.
I hear what you're saying. Basically, I'm not an attorney.
No,
so-
absolutely,
All right.
absolutely, neither am I. I'm just telling you that this is not a new idea.
Right, and it's something that I think that at least our board is very serious about. So, sort of out of our purview at this particular point, it's something that we need to address with the rest of the village. So let's continue on as far as the architectural appearance, which is what you're here for, right?
So am I hearing you correctly that maybe if some of the features of the hospital were introduced in a contemporary fashion, so that was its own building, but it carried through some of that theme, would that be a good?
I think that'd be great,
Yeah.
personally.
I mean, Leahy Pavilion, when it was designed, it was supposedly trying to
Well,
follow.
but it's not a great building, but it did pick up on theme, horizontal banding, simple corbelling, that, it looked to the 60s modifications that had the long, low roof
Yeah.
line. But I think you've actually gotten that in whatever.
Option 3.
Option 3 or 4, whatever it is. I think you did that really well.
Okay, so, I mean,
I would just like, I'm with Al, I like to see them just a little different, just so they're not matchy-matchy.
The two buildings.
Yeah, just not,
yeah.
I mean, I like the whole concept of it and everything, but just so they're not matching totally.
At one point, in a really early phase, there were, well, actually, I think they were in the EAF. There were elevations that showed that sort of Flemish gable ends that were on the original hospital building.
Yeah.
Do we have that historic picture here? You had it in your bag for a while, Al.
Not that one.
I know. Yeah, that.
Yes,
That.
Talking about that.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying necessarily,
Yeah.
but that was another thing that drew inspiration from the hospital building.
Let me ask another question. The antenna on top of the existing hospital, the old hospital, is he still going to have antennas somehow incorporated in this?
Cell
And
towers, you mean?
can they be in the commercial buildings, or do they have to be elsewhere on the site because of height or something?
I think for height, there's a few things going on. AT&T is on the top of the building. We're told that it's a very significant antenna. We actually thought that maybe it helped boost a signal or something of that nature, but I guess they're telling us if that was out, nobody would have cell phone service in the area. So, on the other hand, you know, we have discussed, and with Ray, the possibility of putting it in a cupola of one of the buildings. However, the elevation may not be there. We don't want any visible antennas, you know, we don't. and
Neither do we.
Yeah, so it's actually going down the path that,
Oh, so it probably
It's
would have to be on
likely-
the upper slope somewhere, is what you're saying.
there or not at all, you know,
Mhm.
it's, we
But
have to find
it
another
wouldn't
spot
work,
for
it wouldn't work in the two commercial buildings, they're too low.
Right, I believe that their engineering is gonna say it doesn't work there, and then we're saying we're not
Okay.
sure that we want it from a perception standpoint to be above the residential, because it's not positive for.
And then where
people
will the
like
turkey
that.
vultures go? You'll have the
Right.
turkey vulture advocates.
Yeah, but
They'll
to answer your
come
question though,
somewhere.
it can, you know, they say, oh, it's very safe, there's no reason not to put it, it can all fit in a cupola with the latest equipment, and, so that's their pitch.
Mhm.
You know, it's-
No, because I was wondering if you did have something like, you know, a little built-up area in there, could they be in
Mhm.
there and in the
Somehow
commercial building?
contained.
Yeah.
Okay, let me propose something. Let us go through each of the options, and we can all sort of say what we like and what we don't like, so at least you get a feeling for the types of things the features that we're looking for. Option one. Kathleen, you wanna start?
I don't, this one seems too residential to me.
Okay.
Yeah, little dormers are not my idea of a good commercial building.
I like that it's brick.
I like that it's brick too.
Yeah, brick is nice.
Yeah.
Brick
Even
good.
the signage part.
Yeah, the
banning,
signage,
The banning.
band,
good.
are good,
Also, I like that, one of the things which, the small windows above the large storefronts.
Mhm.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
You do like or don't like?
I do like.
Oh, here,
Yeah.
these?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too, and
Yeah.
that's a good point, Peter,
The
that
whole bottom
they're on
part,
Main
yeah.
Street.
Yeah, these are on, where the person keeps house, they just redid the building.
And they're really handsome.
So I love this little
I know, I
perspective
do
sketch.
too.
That was very engagé.
I don't see how two is different, really.
It's really just a material change, like
Oh, I
if
see,
you thought
there's
the
no
brick was
clapper on
too
the top,
heavy,
yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, that goes in the opposite direction, where it feels again to more sort of postmodern residential.
But what I do like on number one is this little pylon feature.
And one?
Yeah.
Well,
Little
one and
pylon.
two.
One and two.
That one.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things on number 3 that I'm going to question is these panels
I
here.
was just gonna ask that.
Well,
Feature.
I think that picks up in the, because that was a feature on the sixties edition to the
Well,
hospital.
let's have the architect.
No, it was, and it was, you know, and I think the building, again, if it looks a little bit more like part of our time right now, you know, rather than have a series of punched openings on all floors, it'd be nice to actually, if you know, if this window frame around those windows, you know, carried down through a spandrel there, and it was all kind of the same color, and looked like one larger element, it would, I think, you know, look a little bit more, slightly more contemporary.
I'd just be concerned about the material.
Yeah.
So what would the material, it'd be just a different glass, is that what you're saying?
Well, it would probably be metal.
A metal.
Well, the signage banner, which is, you know, a good feature, what is that material?
Well, it's probably like an AZAC or or built out wood type trim.
Okay.
And are these gutters, what are?
No, that's actually, so that's a metal overhang being hung by 12
Oh,
rods.
okay, okay, I got that.
Yeah.
Canopy.
I think it would be really important sooner rather than later to see these in context of the site, these lower buildings, to get a sense of the mass.
Yeah, it was, so what I was hoping is if we get some direction on the type building, style building that we'll model it for you, put you right into the context. We'll place the Leahy Pavilion to
Right.
scale into, as well.
Because right now, we're only looking
Yeah.
at a front facade.
Yes.
We're not
Right.
looking
Yeah,
at the
is
side
this
stuff
stepping
that
out?
would be,
Or is that just?
no,
Is that-
yeah, see this, boom, boom, boom,
Okay.
boom.
Yeah.
So this goes back,
Yeah.
Yep,
and
I
this
got
goes
that.
forward.
Yeah. So I think it would actually be much more attractive with shade and shadow lines on it, because there's
Yeah.
some depth there.
Sure, and it breaks up the mass too.
Yeah.
And also having that step down on the sides makes
Yeah,
a difference.
yeah. Have you begun to have any thought about the type of metal you'd have around windows and doors?
No, I think that, the particular style may help us determine that. But,
Okay.
I think that's, on the storefront, I think it's it's an it's an aluminum frame, and but it would have a color to it, and we could pick the color of the glass and let that be in the same family as the brick.
And are these gonna be panels? What's under the, are these glass all the way down?
Did you say
I
color?
think it was glass all the way down.
Okay.
Did you say color of the glass? Do you mean color of the anodized metal?
No, I'm saying, the glass could be clear, it could be tinted, that could tie into the color of the panel.
Yeah, say,
The
for
frame.
example, what I've seen is these small windows on the upper part, those being, a certain color.
That'd be kind of nice, yeah.
Yeah.
But glass going all the way down to the floor level?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Go to number 4.
Well, again, the dormers, yeah. I still like the idea of sort of a little tower there with that little, no Romeo and Juliet or anything, no Rapunzel with the hair, but
I understand what you mean by the feature,
Yeah.
that commercial or municipal feature.
yeah,
I guess, the big difference with this one is the fact that it doesn't have that signage on it, and so,
It does.
on
Just
one
shorter.
part, no,
Or is that a roof?
That's an overhang, that's a roof.
and so, I think that one building with a strong signage ban, one building with not, I
I
think
don't feel
that,
like this looks like Cold Spring at all. And for me, it's
Right.
partially the tower, because the only place that we really have anything like that is actually Mr. Galero's other development on the waterfront.
No, I'm not talking about, no, forget about the roof line, I'm talking
Yeah.
about the.
I'm talking about the tower.
You're just talking about
So I'm
that.
talking about this.
I'm talking about, having
With the
a feature.
Oculus,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
To me, it doesn't feel cold. To me, this again reads as suburban plaza. It doesn't read Cold Spring to me at all.
But is it possible that the feature that shows up in the tower may be introduced in scheme in option number 3 somehow? I think that was the thought.
Or in a
Um,
variant of option three.
Yeah.
I would, for me, and again, it's workshop, so we throw ideas out. It's about it's the tower-ness
Yeah,
of the
okay,
tower.
yeah, okay.
If it were some sort of pull-out design element that were interesting.
One building like this, and then the one down by the plaza like this.
I don't mind some sort of feature that gives a defining character, but I feel like the tower is just not village.
I think that would change, make the two different buildings.
I'm not talking about
One
talent,
building.
forget about the peak roof, forget
Yeah.
about the peak roof.
Well, even the.
You're talking about the
peak-
oculus, but I think you're asking me about, right? You're asking about the overall feature, not
No,
just
no,
the
no,
oculus.
I'm just asking about the
Oh,
accent
no,
feature.
I think the oculus is interesting, yeah.
But and the clipped roof over here,
Mhm.
you know, that's also a very residential.
Yeah.
thing.
Well, and that's a little bit of, you know, we are discussing this a little bit, I mean, you know, when you have a building like that, and you bring light to it, you don't have these kind of reverse gables, you know, that probably has 5 dormers across the front to bring light into it, so I'm just nervous that that's gonna look totally different than that.
Yeah, I was remembering that being more appealing at the time, when I first saw it, because
When you
it
come-
did look, it
You're
did so
thinking
much.
You're thinking of the hospital.
I'm thinking of the original hospital, right, but that's not the direction that we've gone, and I
Yeah.
don't think it makes sense to have one of these a building like this down on the street side. Maybe deeper on the site, it would make sense, but I think I'm taking back what I said earlier, because I think it's a little too much historicism for the commercial structures.
Coming into town, you're gonna be looking at that.
Right.
So that side should be pretty important.
Well, but
What-
you're
what-
going to see the,
Yeah,
And this side
what,
is pretty
what you're
blank
gonna
now.
see
Yeah.
here
and
is,
you're gonna see
well, you're gonna,
parking lot
yeah,
coming to town.
number one is really the building that is gonna be the most visible as you're coming into the village.
Yes, but I still, I don't,
I-
that doesn't
I-
convince me that that would be a good option for it, though.
Well,
That
I
sort of
agree.
dissuades me that that would be a
No,
good
but
option.
it should be something different, I think, when you come in, it should be something,
It should be something fine.
I mean,
I
shouldn't
very
be the
clearly
side of the
see
building.
these two being different
Yeah.
approaches, but still tied together.
And by approaches, you know, it's not another flat roof structure reorganized differently to look different, it might be,
I like
It
the.
could
Some
be.
variation.
It could be, I think the flat roof
I
is,
like
I
the
think the
flat
flat
roof.
roof is
okay,
great.
okay.
Yeah, I think the flat roof
Okay,
ties in with the context
Okay.
of commercial buildings on that part of 9D.
It's unfortunate that the way this ended up getting locked in, that you come in and experience the side of a building. It could have been,
well,
there's nothing to do about that now, but it could have been a very different visual experience entering the village.
But I think we now have the opportunity, we're getting direction so that, you know, there's no reason why that elevation isn't just as attractive as the front and carries some feature, you know, I mean, that. I'm.
No, I'm thinking if that building were pulled back from the road further, and perhaps
Somehow brought around.
rotated 90 degrees, that it, you know, you wouldn't have to have parking along the roadway, which is anathema to a lot of people.
Well,
Um,
except it's not anathema there at all. In that part of the village. All the parking's in front,
Well, only on one side of the street.
on one side
On
of the street.
one side of the street, it's not so with the Nest or with M&T.
True. Well, because M&T is so far back off the road, yeah.
And so is the Nest.
Mhm.
And both of them have parking to the side and.
True.
And M&T
It's
to
really
the
about the
side
depth.
and back.
Mhm.
But bringing it somewhat back off the road and rotating it, you would have perhaps a more prominent facade to see as you're coming
Mhm.
up 9D
I see
and down
moving it
9D.
back, I don't see turning it down. I think it's gonna be on the road, it's gotta be even with the road, which is their
No,
copy
no,
to
no,
the
even
road.
with the road, you know, just
Yeah,
Right.
move it back.
scooting it back and so that the long axis is this way, not this way.
Turn the whole building this way. I would think you'd want the long,
And you could keep,
the long
you could
building
keep the,
with the long road.
property. One issue with it turning is that the property rises away from the road, so if you turn it, that retail begins to get buried.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But the rise there is not as abrupt as it is on this side.
Correct.
And maybe that's the side you put your clock or something.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is gonna be a building which I think is gonna be very important as far as it's gonna be the signature building
Yeah.
for the entire development. Because it's gonna be the one that's the most prominent to the public.
Yeah, you experience it first, yeah.
Well, on the way in.
At least in that direction. The other way.
Yeah, but they're leaving town, you don't care about that. You want to get them when they're coming in.
Yeah.
Welcome to Cold Spring, flashing lights.
But based on what we're hearing, I think we've got the opportunity to create some shapes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And envision that out for you, and so whether or not it's there or back a little bit, I think it's still gonna be the same forms as we
Mhm.
develop it.
And maybe, I don't wanna make it life difficult for you, but, maybe there's a small portion which is in fact, close and, for, pedestrian access to the building, but the wings are in fact pulled back to sort of give that a little bit of space. So, I mean, there are
That
things.
should be interesting.
Well, and that's gonna break up the facade too,
Right.
in a way that's helpful.
And top it off with a big tower, big round tower with
Rapunzel.
Yeah.
I mean, you
I
still get
wanna-
something on the little panels.
I would like to say that I appreciate how well you absorbed the conversation we had last time and brought back the ideas.
No, thanks.
And it's also been a week or so well done.
No, thank you. No, but I mean, you were clear on at least the conceptual vision, and the process seems to be working well, and develop a concept, you start to refine it some more, and I feel more comfortable where we're going.
Okay, yeah, and I think, we feel more comfortable. Okay, let's talk about the
Houses?
houses.
Are there Palladian windows along?
This is the
Oh, there, I was trying to think of where they were on, yeah.
there's only that one house. The next house is very attractive, it's a little simpler, but.
It's that Gothic one that
Yeah.
has the rounded.
Yeah.
At Cronin's house?
I don't know, is this Cronin's house?
Yep.
Little
I
Gothic
believe so,
Gothic?
yes.
Yeah.
I thought he lived in the one next door, but okay. See, there's the banding.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
I think, well, first of all, just to understand, the garage, is that set back?
Yes, it is.
That also feels much less intense in this round, the garage.
The only one which I would have a problem with, because I think all of them are an excellent start, is number 4.
Mm-hmm. The scale is a little different.
Well, the other thing is that
That's the entrance?
all of these other ones, the doors face the street,
Mm-hmm.
and in 4, I'm
Yeah.
assuming
Yeah.
that the doors
Is sideways,
are
yeah.
sideways. And so I think that street face is important.
And also that Tudor, that sort of Tudor,
Yeah.
or that timbering, the Tudor styling is also not village at all.
Yeah.
This, in the gable
Yeah.
ends.
But, so so the house across the street, that, you know, it's a beautiful house, that front gable is not very wide, and so, you know, these are not very wide, so we thought, you know, we could be, you know, playful with the windows, you know, and the louver system, and the porch columns, so that, you know, we can really get it to blend, and not to build three of the same houses, you know,
Yeah,
if that
right.
had some earth tones to it, some deeper colors, and then there's another one that is much more kind of traditional, and that were white, you know, and again, it's different vocabulary of architecture, and, you know, different color. It's, you know, it's going to be the same house, but hopefully look different. There's one where there's it's kind of yeah, they are very similar. Then the third one is, you know, looks a little different. I'm not sure we even need that gable in front.
Well, I think that's sort of an interesting contrast, because all
Yeah.
the other ones, you know, your gables, you've got two gables and the entrance is in between, and that's consistent from one and two. And then with three, the gable is over the entrance.
Yeah.
So it's just, you know, it's another approach.
And to think it was maybe that one's in the middle and the other two are flanking, so we're not getting the same look.
It doesn't look subdivision-y.
Yeah.
I think that this approach sits much more comfortably with the surrounding properties on Paulding than anything on Grove Court does.
Mhm.
Which one are you talking about? All of them?
I think all of them sit
Yeah.
better on Paulding than anything on Grove Court.
True.
And, you know, they take inspiration, but they don't mimic. You know, they're recognizably new buildings, but drawing on a vocabulary. The one thing that strikes me, the vents and the gable ends look really big. They look like big vents. And sort of it's such a lovely facade otherwise, and then
Mhm.
so utilitarian in the gable ends.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. I mean, that's it. Yeah. You know, again, you know, I was just trying to get the right proportion out, but you're right. It might. You're right. It probably is a little too big.
What about would you, oh, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I mean, you know, I think it's a big event. I think that if it starts getting smaller, then, you know, it starts looking kind of inconsequential. And so I think you know, you draw it a couple of times and see.
It's not a deal breaker for me, but
Yeah.
it just strikes me as looking rather large.
One thing I wanted to do was not you know how sometimes you'll stick a vent and it's got a brick mold or something pretty small on it. I wanted to trim this out so it looked like an element on the facade.
Talk about, if you can, you may not know at this level of detail yet, the chimneys.
You know, honestly, we haven't got into that level of
What I
detail
would
yet.
beg you not to do is to propose to wrap them in siding.
Oh,
like a-
no, they'll be masonry chimneys.
Thank you.
Paul used great detail when he did the building,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Vinyl siding on things.
Is there anything else that you need to respond to on these?
No, I think I've seen step forward.
Good. Because on all of these, what I'd like to be able to do now then is develop the rest of the elevations and be able to show it to you in perspective, and you know, it's all for
Yeah,
us
so,
too.
yeah, even though these two are similar, they are enough that it's different. Put the other one in the middle.
And I think color will help a lot there.
Color will
Oh,
help.
yeah.
We don't do color, by the way.
But that's, yeah.
We see everything in
You
black,
can
white,
paint
and
it
gray.
pink,
Okay.
much as we encourage you not to.
What do you
This
think
might
they
be,
changing the garage doors or something?
I'm just gonna say the
Change
garage doors, this may be a fussy comment. The garage doors feel very craftsman-y, and you've got this sort of contemporary Victorian look on the rest of the
Mhm.
house. So, I don't know if anybody else has that reaction to them. And think of, I think about the garage doors along B Street.
Well, I guess the only thing I would be concerned about is that, is that strap hinge gonna be real, or is it, an ornament and the door just kind of goes up?
It's an ornament, the door goes up. I mean, it's a metal strapping, but
I think that, my personal feeling would be that, if it's an ornament, then, let's just leave it off.
Okay.
And that's part of what makes it feel craftsman-y, is that big strap. It's also the windows.
But that's a point well taken. I think that, as we talk about the styles, we're trying to break the look down and tie it to something else. Now that we're getting closer, we'll spend more time on that garage door element, which is, I agree with you, it's a pretty substantial element. It's a pretty big element.
Yeah,
Should
garage
get it
doors
right.
are always a problem.
Yeah.
Because there are so few attractive garage, I
mean,
think it's just
the
that
only
it
other way of
feels.
doing it is having the garage doors on the side, and I don't think you've got the width on
You don't
these
have the width
lots.
on the
Well,
driveway.
the other problem that happens if we put it on the side, then you cover so much more of the lot with pavement, and that's
Yeah.
an issue too. So
It's that it feels sort of pastiche, the door feels like, the garage door feels like an add-on.
mhm.
Okay.
That's the point with that. Each one should have some, blend in more with the style, and we'll spend a little bit more time on the detail of that.
Or you basically kitchen doors or something.
Well, that's a side, that's a side door into a mudroom, so. What I didn't want to do is I didn't want the house to go, all the way across the front and then hit the garage. And so that does come across, forms a porch, then a mudroom gets set back, and then the garage, so again, it's a little bit more.
But basically, the
relief on the front
volumes,
door.
the volumes are all the same.
Yes, yeah.
Do we,
You gonna put anything over the top of the door?
Yeah, I think we
You gotta
would.
figure something
Yeah,
out.
what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to compete with
Yeah.
that, so there's probably
That'll
some
go
kind of
over.
treatment there, but.
Those don't last.
is there,
I
anything
like
to
it.
look at with the condo buildings, or not yet?
No, we're working out some details to better that. I mean, my sense last time was that there was more detail to come, and you clearly didn't like the side cupolas, and but I was thinking maybe we're on the right path there, right? But we've got to get deeper into that. But there was it was so critical to get the front buildings, and then as we talked about the different elements between commercial, multifamily, residential. We're able to jump on the first two, while we, try to finish off the inside.
I think you did good on these.
I think this is,
Everything's going good.
we're doing well.
Okay, thank you.
Is it premature to submit some of the site elements as we're going along also to discuss at the,
I think that ultimately, as you're comfortable with them, please do, because it'll give us a better feeling for the context, which I think is, I think we're zeroing in, we're getting our arms around, the design concepts, and now it's all just how all the different pieces come together, so.
What are you thinking, like lighting and?
Yeah, lighting, there are gonna be 2 enclosures for trash. A lot of it we're gonna keep under the buildings, but there is still 2. You'll need one for this building and one for this building. It's on the more developed site plan, and this is the old EAF one here.
Do you have
And-
any like retaining walls or anything like that?
Yeah, there'll be something to retain a bit of the, along this area here. And there's a couple of features the landscape architect came up with here and here, bioretention devices with some.
That's
So-
right, that's the site plan we looked at last time. Why are we looking at the older one again?
This just happened to be on the back of, the other one I have to unclip for us. Right. That's the this is the EAF one.
The one we were just looking at?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was wondering what happened to the bioretention stuff we talked about last time.
No, that's not it. Let's see if this is it. Oh, yeah, this one. have, here's one of the enclosures, and there's another one here. And the rest we put inside here.
What's this?
Oh, that might be a sediment trap for during construction. I have to look up this legend. See what that is.
And that bioretention area is here, right?
Right. There's more that shows up on the actual landscape plan. This just happens to be a bulk data site plan here.
This updated one is parallel, the building's parallel to the parking.
I'm very interested in
Well,
seeing that.
Except the parking, well,
Or
or the
the
parking is,
But the parking
is parallel with the building.
Yeah.
It's still off of Leahy Pavilion.
I'm interested to see that, the retaining wall along the
Sure.
Grove side.
Yeah, they do have.
'Cause that's gonna be a
There's
big
different
feature.
styles that they have also. 3 to 5 feet in height, I think along this area here. But I can start bringing you in some information on that.
Okay, good. So when do you wanna meet next?
Ray, how's
Well, it's just a matter of how many days in advance we have to submit.
We have to advertise.
how long do you need to advertise for, a week or two, or?
Yeah, and it's usually for workshops, it's a week ahead.
So we're meeting next week. Next week's the 19th already, right? Next week is Scenic Hudson,
Kearney.
Kearney, something else we just put on tonight, Danny, Valentine, and the application discussion. So that will be a very long workshop. The 26th.
Oh, we're not doing the application thing tonight? Oh,
No, that was because we advertised that for the night.
Oh, okay.
And Michael's not here. Michael should be part of that.
Okay.
Michael Gingulis. The 26th is right before, that's Wednesday before Thanksgiving. That's not gonna work for anybody. So our option is to either, much as I love you guys, so we either shift to a different night of the week, which could end us up in the small room, which would be harder for the public, the swelling mass of the public, or we go to December, the 3rd.
How long would it take you to turn something around anyway, if you started working?
Well, I mean, I get some pretty clear direction on both the commercial and the residential. So, a week to 10 days, I can make a resubmission.
And you needed a week before that, so 10 days and 7.
I think we're,
a week after Thanksgiving.
I think we're talking about December.
Unless you do it on a different night of the week. Unless you do the 24th or the 25th. Trustees are on the 25th, so that won't work because people will want to, assuming anyone shows up, they might want to be at the trustee meeting as well.
We don't have any.
Oh, you don't have it on the 25th? Okay. So, could
So
be an
what's
option.
Thanksgiving?
27th, Thursday. So then we look at Wednesday the 3rd.
So, I guess the question is, could you get your materials together by the 19th so that they could see us possibly something during the week of the 24th?
Yes, because I think I could clearly make enough for submission and even if I enhanced it, but I could address some of the issues that we're talking about. So I could make a submission.
The only night I could do that week could be Tuesday.
We could just do a long 19th.
This would be really long.
But then,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have the materials in time either.
I mean, my feeling is that the week of Thanksgiving is always just disastrous.
So then it's December 3rd.
Let's do it the following week, and it'll.
Just do your planning board schedule. You know, the planning board's on the 3rd. Are you before the planning board on the 3rd? No.
Given that we'll submit
I don't
more.
remember.
Yeah.
I don't know if
But-
an agenda's been advertised.
But for us, it's not an issue, because we're dealing with site plan there, and Ray can handle the HDRB stuff here.
Okay. Just be a little. Okay, so the 3rd.
Let's say the 3rd.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your
Thank
help,
you.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
I would just make a plea to try to get, if next time, it is so hard to judge size
Mhm.
without anything around it.
Yeah.
To have drawings that put the buildings in context would be superb.
Yeah, and that's why I think we were just talking about that, that'll give them more time to do that.
Yeah, even if they're little study models.
Yeah.
The one thing that I just want to remind you is that, I don't know how far along you're going as far as the demolition goes. There were some documentation requirements.
Yep, they're working on it now.
Okay.
I think we're gonna have that the first week of December.
All right, good.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Everybody's gonna go crazy, it's gonna be, look how great this looks with nothing on it.
What?
When it's knocked down, everybody's gonna be like,
Oh.
look how beautiful
See,
it
this is the
is."
problem with an open field.
Yeah.
People get accustomed to open space.
Um,
So we need to go back into session to finish our business?
Yes.
So I move to close the workshop session,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
so 9:53.
Okay. Back to the pile. Correspondence, Putnam County News, let me guess.
Bill.
I'll get so many of them.
Yeah.
New York Metropolitan Transportation Council, probably notification of a public hearing which is already passed. But we'll do our due diligence and open the envelope. Dates, October 15th through November 13th.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow, so notice of public comment and webinar.
On what? Sorry, transportation something?
Yeah,
On the most recent transportation conformity
Approval.
determination.
yeah. You got it.
Source.
Okay, so, and I would assume I have to sign the bill? Okay. So we have that as far as correspondence to be filed.
There's stuff in there that's been in that to be filed folder for a number of months. No big shakes, but it should go to the files where they.
Okay, Linda? Ooh,
That's like,
Oh, that was a picture of Main Street when we were dealing with the Silver Spring.
yeah,
I marked them where they go.
okay. Other board minutes, we don't have any minutes to be signed, we don't have any denials, awaiting applications, okay.
Folks have any for me?
Anybody have any questions for our liaison?
What about the Grove? He's doing so much work, so fast. It's great.
Yeah, he's really making progress. And he's only working basically weekends, which is really fabulous. But he's got actual operable windows in a couple of the windows.
Last time I stopped to talk to him, he had reglazed all the lower floor windows. He's leaving the boards on just to protect them for now.
Mhm.
And all the pocket windows were operable.
Wow. Has he done the floors?
Well, no,
Yeah,
actually,
it is.
he's got some of the windows at his home that are ready for reglazing.
Yeah.
So those might be the upper floor windows. I don't know.
He,
I mean, the floors, in the interior floors. So
yeah, that was the first thing he did. He had an engineer come in and they stabilized the whole bottom floor. You can walk anywhere now.
It's very
Because there was
impressive.
nothing wrong with those joists, what happened was somebody came
I
in,
know, the
ripped off
radiators,
the,
No, he
Oh, the
jacked them
mantles,
right
the
back into
mantles,
place.
yeah.
right, and everything just, and.
That building was so
I think he-
gorgeous on the inside.
I know.
He fixed
Can't think about it.
looks like he did work on the little L too.
On the
Okay.
roof.
No, but the little L has a collapsed floor also.
Yeah, it's completely in the basement.
Mhm.
But luckily it's a small space, so it's not
Right.
too much.
Then also, it looks like you really did a good job as far as straightening out the porch.
The porch.
I was shocked that he saved it, to be honest.
Huh.
That's just when he left most of the original material, he just pieced in where it needed to be.
Right,
Well done.
that's right. We did a good job in giving it to him.
I was gonna say, you got it or nothing, so.
I think that $5,000 it just keeps giving and giving, we haven't found a way to spend it yet.
Are you kidding me? I feel like every time we have a trustee meeting, somebody says, we'll use the Grove money.
Well, now we just found, another 20,000 or 16,000 last meeting, so,
I guess I wasn't paying attention when that happened.
thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, good night, Mike. Okay, minutes.
I forgot to bring printed copies, but
Uh.
I mailed them. Did Alicia print them for you?
Nope.
I've been sending loads of stuff to her. Are you not getting anything?
Yeah, I guess so, I didn't get the
Well, no,
minutes.
the minutes I sent yesterday.
You did?
Oh.
Yeah.
Did I comment on them?
No.
No. I don't remember getting minutes from you.
I did.
I got minutes from you, I guess.
I sent them with I sent them at like 11:30 Monday night. I said, crap, I forgot to send these out over the weekend. All right, well, we can move it to next week. Oh, Al's got them, see?
Yeah.
If we need time to
Sure.
read them, we can do it at next week's workshop. I did-
There are,
There are 3 sets. Yeah.
And this is two.
This is November
There's
5th.
There's November 5th workshop, October 8th, and October 22nd.
on
I didn't see this.
Ziegler Henderson, we say that he came in to document some changes. I think we probably should indicate what those changes were.
Okay.
As far as I remember, the only thing he pointed out was the
Those
clipped,
clips on the ends.
yeah.
If you can hand stuff, that it's easier for me to work from
Okay.
notes.
There are a couple word changes, and this is on October 8th.
Do we want to hold off a vote until you
Okay,
have a chance to
yes.
read it and vote on them next week?
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
You sent them all, right? I'll just get them tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But if when you get to work tomorrow they're not there,
I'm
They
sure
should
they
be,
are,
but-
I just didn't, been so busy.
can I have your
Looking
can I have
for it.
unmarked versions? How come we don't get Preservation Magazine anymore?
I do. As a matter of fact, I will bring them in because
Recording.
I
40 years worth tucked away down there somewhere. Do you have those?
well, I hadn't finished.
Oh, okay.
This is my first cut. Okay. Do we have any other?
I would like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss
The
Mike
attorney.
what Mike Liguori responded.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, well, first of all, we have a motion to go into executive session. Second, all in favor?
Yes, sir.
Aye.
Aye.
Can I ask a question before you do that?
Sure.
Hardly anybody here anyway. The names of the 2 guys representing Butterfield, one is Matt Moran, right?
Yeah.
Who's the other one, Ray?
Ray.
Sullivan? I think?
Sullivan? Ray Sullivan.
It's in the minutes.
Yes. Okay, yeah, but the minutes
No,
aren't
but
on
I know.
Monday.
I'm just telling Al to look in the minutes for you. I think it's Sullivan.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, Sullivan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ray, R-A-Y.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he's the architect, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think
What
it's
is today's
Sullivan.
date?
Sullivan Architectural.
Yes.
12th. 12th? 11, 12,
Where did I put 'em?
14.
I can look it up here. Sullivan Architectural Services or something.
Well, he's probably online too.
Yeah.
Linda?
Al? I mean,
The bill. Okay, let me give you the rest of it. The bill.